Joe Biden is being sold as the most electable Democrat, but there are some issues with this, and one of the issues is evidence and video and Joe Biden's own words. Check out this clip.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Alright, so that video of Joe Biden wanting to freeze Social Security is old. So let's look at something more recent during his time with Obama.
After we reached an agreement about gradually raising the retirement age, et cetera, he said, look, here's the deal. We all put our foot in the boat one at a time. And he stepped like he was stepping into a boat. And we all make the following deal. If any one of the challengers running against incumbent Democrat or Republicans attacks us on this point, we'll all stay together. That's the kind of leadership that is needed. Social Security is not the hard one to solve. Medicare, that is the gorilla in the room. And you've got to put all of it on the table.
Everything.
Everything. You've got to.
Alright, so throughout the last 40 years of an economy rigged, where the rich get richer, inequality is at levels not seen since before the Great Depression, during the Roaring '20s, all throughout this time, Joe Biden, instead of going after the really rich, the powerful, the people manipulating the entire economy and multiple industries, instead of going after them, Joe Biden preferred to go after the poor, the elderly, and the sick. But whatever, how about we look at something more recent from 2018?
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare. Now, we need to do something about Social Security and Medicare. That's the only way you can find room to pay for it.
By the way, when Joe Biden says that thing about the need for unity and the need to have Democrats and Republicans working together, you should not be happy with that statement, because when Democrats and Republicans have worked together in the last 40 years, they unite on issues that we do not want implemented, like deregulating Wall Street, deregulating the entire financial sector, deregulating banks, making us take on a higher war military budget, easing us into war, voting for wars, leading and believing George W. Bush in the beginning of the 2000s, and every single conflict we have, both parties are war hawkish. They're both for it. When they both work together, things tend to not get done. When they both get together, we have Obamacare, which was a half measure, even compared to the original Obamacare bill with like a public option. They always try to meet in the middle in areas that people are simply not for. It does not help us when Democrats and Republicans come together, because that usually means that something's happening that they agree on. And when they agree on something, it's pro-corporate. It's pro-raising the Social Security age. It's pro-cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting things we like, because both parties are really corporate parties. Ever since the 1980s, the Reagan Revolution, the neocon and neoliberal parties are just anti-populist movements. And in today's populist era, today people want a candidate they know is fighting for them. They don't want a candidate that if they Google their name and look at their history, their whole history was fighting against them. They don't want a candidate like Joe Biden whose whole history is saying, all right, we need to cut benefits from the lower and middle classes to pay for our budget instead of raising taxes on the wealthy. And of course, throughout the last 40 years, we know what has happened to economic inequality, how the rich pay so little in taxes. And yet we still are trying to push that this guy is the most electable. He has the same exact record as Hillary Clinton. Pro-war, Wall Street deregulation, who is very entrenched in politics. He has his own scandal now, even if you don't believe in the Hunter Biden scandal. Hunter Biden being a thing at all, that reality TV show type of plot being available, is going to hurt Joe Biden's electability. And when we look at something like Social Security, we look at climate, we look at banks, we look at taxes, we look at healthcare. Throughout the last 40 years, there's always a video of Joe Biden trying to do something that's bad for us, and Bernie Sanders trying to do something that is good for us. And this is continuing now, and it has continued even throughout the Obama presidency. As we see right here, this article on The Intercept.com, Obama wanted to cut Social Security in 2012, and Bernie Sanders actually led the opposition against Obama cutting Social Security. And Bernie Sanders, while Obama wanted to cut it, wanted to lessen it, Bernie Sanders wanted to lift Social Security's payroll tax to make the wealthier pay more, which makes sense economically and socially, so they could pay more into the system, and then increasing benefits to seniors instead of Joe Biden's strategy of cutting it from the weakest, stealing from the poor and giving it back to the rich, and continuing this trend of economic inequality. It's just so apparent what electability issues truly are when you look past conventional wisdom and you look through to today's populist movements. There is that meme going around of the last 40 years. Like I said, Joe Biden has been fighting against us, Bernie fighting for us. And even if Joe Biden's policies now are somewhat progressive, it's a product of Bernie Sanders pushing the party left and awakening that spirit in America, saying we want a $15 minimum wage or just a livable minimum wage that isn't $7.25 an hour, which is insane. Supporting measures to radically change our climate, especially with what's happening in Australia today, with the banks that are about to lead us into another recession. There's bubbles forming in the market and in the housing market. We have people today, we have a person today we can run over Biden that is for the people and could really act his way through these smears that both parties are trying to give him. When you look at electability, what really matters is truly who the politician is. Smears only go so far. The issue with smears of people like Clinton and people like Biden is the smears have some rooting in truth. So when you smear them on being corrupt, it will work, because as long as there's a little bit there, they can take it all the way. Because Joe Biden's arguments, if you question him on any of this, will just be to yell at you and not provide any substance. Bernie Sanders criticized him for his votes on Iraq, for his financial deregulation, for not being a progressive at all. Bernie Sanders attacked Biden for this, and he just came back with some dumb one-liner. Bernie Sanders said Trump would eat Biden's lunch, and Biden's like, oh yeah, well, tell Bernie I'll have him at the White House for some ice cream, or something like that. And Bernie Sanders a couple days ago also said to Biden about Biden to a media company that Biden has a lot of baggage that he's carrying that he can't bring into the election because that'll hurt him. And Biden just said, I don't listen to Bernie. Like, he has no actual refutation for these. And if you don't have a refutation, but there are videos of you that prove that you are against what you claim to be for, or yeah, that works. But anyway, if those videos are out there, people will always see through it, and it's not hard. You could look at like what I just did. Just get the videos, and we got to share this around as much as we can and let people see the truth. Because if we walk into this Joe Biden disaster, we keep sleepwalking into his candidacy, Donald Trump will win the White House in 2020. So if you think this is important to share, can you please take this video, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and share this video so people can at least see the first 3 minutes so they can see where Joe Biden truly stands.